Greetings collectors and welcome to today's retro game review. Today I'll be taking a look back at a game that proudly claims to be probably the strangest game ever. Be prepared as we travel back to 1992 to rediscover Harlequin for the Commodore Amiga. This week's retrospective has been a real challenge for me. I'm a big fan of the Commodore Amiga and the platforming genre in general, but I also have an interest in games that go the extra mile to be themselves and a bit different from the crowd. On the surface, Harlequin is all of these things. Time and time again, Harlequin also scores very favourably in past magazine reviews and fan reviews. So, why have I had difficulty this week? Well, having last played Harlequin in my youth and remembering good times, the party now seems to be over. Could it be that the game just hasn't aged very well in some areas? Or perhaps I'm just not remembering the game the way I thought it was. I appreciate that I may get a bit of backlash for this review, but this is just an opinion. I know there is a strong fan support for this game and Gremlin's other titles. I must say that it's not a bad game at all, just not quite the game that I remembered. So, what's it all about? The box informs us. Can you mend Chimerica's broken heart? Harlequin has returned to his beloved homeland Chimerica to find it locked, inaccessible and broken-hearted. Calling upon a myriad of methods, Harlequin must travel across the vast, ever-changing land to seek out and replace 4 segments of Chimerica's broken heart. Harlequin's determination in his task in this ultra-dynamic game is matched with equal venom by the weirdest assortment of characters ever known. Harlequin is played across 850 screens that will stretch even the most ardent games player's skills. For what it's worth, the game does have a plot, and claims a lot of its bright, crazy credentials. The boot-up sequence is very promising, high quality music and some sharp, menacing graphics. The gameplay is reasonably solid. As expected, you'll be platforming, collecting power-ups, flicking switches and discovering secret areas. It's all very much what you might expect from an early 90s platformer. The graphics are good, but not outstanding. The cheerful music does keep the game buoyant though. After about 10 minutes of play, it dawned on me though that I personally found the game to have a distinct lack of strangeness. Okay, there's jumping clocks and a thundercloud, but nothing really off the wall to write home about. The game does cover some interesting backdrops and scenarios, but I feel it never really lives up to the bold statement on the box of probably the strangest game ever. Compare 1992's Harlequin to 1989's Weird Dreams by Rainbird, and they're in a different league altogether when it comes to strangeness. The box itself is perhaps better presented than the game. The bold imagery, stylized fonts all make it very appealing, whilst the game discs came in both green and blue depending on the print run. Gremlin have done a very good job with the manual, as it does explain the power-ups well, but again lacks any real strangeness. When other games such as Weird Dreams came packed with supplementary material, The 7 Gates of Jambala was hand illustrated, and Theme Park Mystery provided a whole occult section, a simple monochrome manual just doesn't cut it for me if you're trying to make claims around probably the strangest game ever. There's no doubt in my mind at all that Gremlin have created a raft of high quality games, Lotus Turbo Challenge 2 being perhaps my favourite of them all. Harlequin itself is also a high quality game. It perhaps just doesn't live up to its own hype at times. If you are looking to put Harlequin in your collection, expect to pay around £10 to £15 here in the UK. The game is a little harder to get hold of in North America due to this being a British studio release. Still, don't expect to pay in excess of $20. As I mentioned earlier though, Harlequin does receive very high fan appreciation. It's partly what has kept the collector's price above average for your standard 90s platformer. That, and there is a dedicated group of Gremlin software collectors. At face value, Harlequin promises a lot. Outwardly it's bright and appealing and all a bit crazy. When you get down to it though, the actual experience is rather more of a technically savvy game that forces you into a way of playing methodically to complete each stage. As much as the internet reminds me that this is a classic, crazy experience, after all these years I still feel like I'm missing the joke when it comes to Harlequin. If the game experience itself was truly strange, then the player wouldn't have to be kept being reminded that this is meant to be strange. It should just emerge naturally. It's very much like when someone wants to introduce you to their crazy friend. You're told that they're really cool, hilarious and the life of the party, and that you'll really get on. When you actually meet them though, you realise that you don't really find them that entertaining, you just can't click. Those claims of being really crazy is really just an enforced view, rather than the truth. I won't write Harlequin off though as a retro game recommendation. The game is bright with solid game design and a really good length. Despite the jumping being a bit floaty for my tastes, it's not broken and it's definitely possible to have fun with this one. If you are looking to pick up a copy of Harlequin, lower your expectations on the strangeness, but be prepared for a fun, challenging afternoon of retro platform gaming. Hello again, I hope you enjoyed today's show and thank you for the view. Remember, you can always comment, like, subscribe and find us on the social media sites below. Happy collecting!